We're here in Monte Carlo for the Rendez-Vous de Septembre. For BMS TV, I'm Richard Banks. And I'm joined now by Nick Cook, Group CEO of BMS. Nick, welcome.
Richard, thank you very much. Great to be here.
So BMS is a name that people will be familiar with, and this year it broke into the top 20 of AM Best's global brokers. Tell us a little bit about how you've fueled that growth in recent years.
Well, thank you. And the company's changed a lot over the last 40 years, 45 years actually, since its origination. Fundamentally, it's down to the phenomenal hard work of our amazing people throughout the whole organisation. But the bedrock of our growth has always been organic growth and sticking to what we know and sticking to the areas of the market where we truly believe we can add value to our customers. I think that really changed in 2019 when we took in a large capital injection from BCI and PCP. And that allowed us to fuel the areas of expertise and growth, but also allowed us to look at a slight change in strategy around acquisitions. So since 2019, it's not just been about organic growth across the platform. We have made a number of acquisitions, closing in on 20 acquisitions now. And this year was our largest by some distance, which I'm sure Richard will come on and talk about. But historically, our acquisitions have been around the world, building up our own regional specialty network, which is fueling our growth in our London business. We've seen record growth in our reinsurance platform, particularly in the United States, which is really the core of our reinsurance business. So the growth is organic, underpinned by organic, which I think is a sign of a really healthy company. But it's also down to the phenomenal hard work of everybody involved at BMS.
So we're here in Monte Carlo. Big names tend to have the loudest voices here, but you guys are a significant independent player. How do your views differ?
I don't think you need to be the loudest voice. You need to really concentrate on where you add value. And our mantra at BMS is, to focus. We're client-centric. We want to remain client-centric and focus on agnostic solutions across our entire platform. And I think that's probably the difference. Everyone says, well, what's the real relevance around independence? Independence for us is we own our business. It's over 60% of our employees own the business. That's 600 plus people, which is phenomenal, which is a key driver of that independence. But also in terms of how we approach our clients. We are one platform. It's a global platform. And whether it's specialty, whether it's retail, or whether it's our reinsurance business, we are agnostic as to the solution. So we're not driven by geography. We're not driven by P&L. We're not driven by healthy competition within the business. We're driven by solutions for our client. And that's crucial. So when we front up to a client anywhere in the world, they get the whole of BMS Group, whether it's reinsurance, whether it's capital advisory, whether it's the binders or open market. We are proud of the fact that we can act as one platform. And I think that's a big difference in terms of independence. And independence in a competitive world, particularly for employees and shareholders in the business, really matters.
So we're here in Monte Carlo. A lot of talk still about a hard market. Tell us a bit about some of your perceptions of the cycle, where we are at the cycle.
I'm intrigued people are talking about a hard market. Look, most of us, certainly for us that have been in the industry for a long time, we're au fait with these market trends. I think we've enjoyed strong market conditions across all lines of business for a long time now. And that's just, and that's on both sides of the balance sheet, but also in terms of distribution. And that is definitely coming to an end. And in some markets, we're seeing significant rate reductions. That said, I think, in the casualty space, there's still some loss development. There's still some cautiousness around casualty. I think new capital coming in to write cat business. I don't think we're seeing that at this stage. So we're not being flooded by new capital. But I think everybody going into 2024 had fairly ambitious growth plans based on what had happened over the last 2 or 3 years. And whilst those were tempered, no doubt about it, those were tempered, I think at the speed at which some lines have come off has shocked individuals and shocked organizations. So it'd be very interesting going into post Monte Carlo, going into Q4, seeing how competitive that market is outside of the storm season and having a fairly benign storm season. So I think it's a combination of this was always coming. We've been here many, many times before. There will be people in this market that haven't experienced this, but for us that have been around a while, we've all experienced soft and hard cycles. Will new capital come in and will it speed up that rate? And what will happen for the remainder of the hurricane season?
Do you have any thoughts on that, particularly around the new capital coming in?
I think everybody's, they're interested in our market. I think our market's done a really good job in terms of attracting new capital. We, BMS, have just done that through a recent refinance, bringing in the French private equity firm Eurazeo. They have invested in distribution, in underwriting, and we're seeing them deploy more capital across the sector. So I think there's always interest, and I think we've been very good at developing that interest. I think as you go into a soft cycle, there will be some nervousness about where you deploy that new capital. But that's our job. I mean, our job as the broking community is to bring new capital to our clients and bring solutions to our clients. So I would expect everybody at Monte Carlo is talking about how can we generate new capital into the market.
So you talk about bringing solutions to the clients. Are clients getting solutions to the challenges that they face?
They certainly are if they're a BMS client. And I think, that very much depends in what sector and what region. But I think if you have a philosophy and you are client-centric and it's all about a solution, it's not rocket science. I mean, you're sitting in front of a buyer and saying, what's troubling you? What's your plans over the next 12 to 24 months and how can we help? And as long as you've got strings to your bow and can help across all that capital structure, then you are bringing that solution. I think if it's an off-the-shelf product and it's not solutions-based and it's not really focusing on the requirements of your client, and there are sectors of the market that do that, no doubt, and there's a place for that, I'm sure. But for us, it's very much solutions-based and listening. Open your ears and listen.
And that's what we can expect to see from BMS in the future.
Absolutely, yeah, indeed. And recently, I think the transaction we just made in the UK is a fantastic endorsement of our business, but also in terms of that new capital. They've just reloaded and invested more capital into BMS and our platform, which is an endorsement not just of BMS, but also of the sector. So back to what you were asking, Richard, around that capital, I think, we've got plenty of opportunity and the underwriting community will stay very disciplined about how they're going to deploy that.
Nick, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
It's a great pleasure. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
For AM Best TV, I'm Richard Banks.